Marcus, how would you describe your role within E-Cubed?
My role is as program director, where I coordinate the different functions within the E-Cube team. And so I'm probably a little bit like the cement between the bricks. And without the cement, the bricks are very great bricks, but it's good to have a wall. So that I would see that as my role. I probably am. I play a strategic function where I make sure that all the functions are aligned, and that we're all aiming for the same goal, and that we are getting our priorities right in terms of reaching that goal.
What would you describe the goal as?
The goal is very audacious and it's a very big goal. But the goal really at the highest level is to ensure that the young South Africans are become active members of the South African society, that they're no longer dropping off the edge of their school continuum, that they are engaged, excited, enthusiastic, and looking forward to being part of what the world has to offer them after school, rather than being depressed and negative about not only the school process, but what their opportunities are beyond school. And so the E-Cubed initiative is to provide hope for the learners and for young people to be able to realize that they are absolutely vital key players in the future of the country. And it's our responsibility and the Education Department's responsibility to ensure that their education journey prepares them absolutely for that.
Thank you. And as the E-Cubed person responsible for holding the vision of E-Cubed and keeping the team aligned and motivated and excited, what is your vision for the way E-Cubed could influence the education situation in South Africa?
Well, I think that we've got to keep very sharp focus, and the sharp focus is always on the youth and on the fact that we have the most shocking youth unemployment in the world. And we just can't afford that, and we can't afford to have 58% of young people just not being engaged in life after school or even in school. And so we have to every single thing we do as a country, as initiative, needs to be focused towards that goal. And so it's actually not hard, because we were all, number one, youths ourselves. Number two, we at least know young people, if not have children ourselves. And so the cohort of young people is a cohort that's apolitical. It's just something we all believe in. And so it's not hard to inspire people to want to make young people have better lives. It's a wonderfully motivating goal. So it's certainly not hard to inspire the E-Cube team. What we need to do is be able to articulate very clearly what the vision is, and then enroll people to become part of that bigger picture, bigger team. And of course, the most important players in that are the teachers, because those are the very first people beyond one's parents that you meet in your journey of life. And so really, while young people are our ultimate goal, the really most important focus that we are focusing on is teachers, and getting them not only to understand and get that vision, which for themselves is not hard either, because everybody wants young people to survive. The question is, how do you make a system work that they're part of, that they can feel that every day when they're entering the classroom, they're part of that vision to making the world a better place for young people.
Perfect. Just do this with your friend, just one bit there.
In my face, okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
So, the big question. What makes you find the motivation to take on such an audacious task?
When I see the shining eyes of young people engaged in a project at school that they just can't wait to come to school to do, is unbelievably exciting. Because you suddenly realize that the mechanism of school can be a positive system that they actually want to be engaged in. So what really excites me is when I see learners looking for learning, looking for information, because they need to complete something. They've got such a compelling goal. They're so solution oriented that they have to go and find that piece of information in order for them to get to the solution to that problem. And that really is what learning is all about. We find learning, it's like the just-in-time process. I need to learn this thing because now I need it to solve this problem. Instead of turn to page 32 and learn the following 8 factors for something, which is completely irrelevant and out of context. Where if you need to know those factors to solve a problem, you'll go and find them, embed them in your mind, never forget them again, because you're solving a problem that's relevant to you and your community. And so I think that's what excites me enormously when I see teachers getting that starting to happen in schools. The learners are coming to school because they want to be finishing their project. They're working in the holidays because they found a new solution to it. That's really real learning, and it's making in the institutionalization of learning actually relevant, actually engaging, actually meaningful, actually fun. And so for me, it's really exciting, and we are yet to see it, but I believe in it greatly. And that is that I think we'll start getting stickiness and traction, where young people will stay in school, and school will just be the first part of their lifelong learning journey. And then they'll leave school with not only the knowledge, but also the skills and the competencies to really be able to go out there and be the entrepreneurials that I so strongly believe in. And those are solution-seeking mindset people who they can't help walking past a problem and thinking, I could fix that. I know so-and-so, I know this resource, I have the skill. All those competencies, those personal competencies that make people be able to solve problems in the world is what excites me about what we're doing in eCubed.
Good answer. Very good answer. I was going to ask you about purpose-driven learning, and you answered it in that. So
I can say more if you like, but if you want to.
Well, actually, maybe I'll just change the question a little bit. How does this project-based learning system develop self-belief and esteem in the lives of students?
So I think very sadly, part of our history, our heritage, our journey has been that South Africans generally have a low self-esteem about ourselves, partly because we've been the pariah of the world for so long, we've had a shocking political system for so many decades, but also partly the way that the education system has created a sense that, and it's not only South Africa's education, it's education in general, that the teacher has the answer and you must somehow guess what the answer is in their minds, and then know you got it wrong, and actually now you've got 30% on your test. So all of that is a kind of a negative construct, and I think as soon as we can start developing the construct where people have the curiosity and enthusiasm to start asking questions, and to not worry that the answer is wrong, and to realize that wrong answers lead to discovery of new things. And the more that happens, the more one builds confidence. And so the concept of having agency or belief in yourself or self-power is all built through tasting little tastes of success. And so we have to set school up as a success system rather than a failure system. So you succeeded even though you failed, because now you have the chance to try again and you can do it better again. So the more you taste success, the more you hit the ball out of the park at some point after missing it and missing it and missing it, you think, oh my gosh, I can do that. The more you're going to want to do it again. And the way to make that happen is two other things. One is to have a cheerleader, someone who says, you can do it, I'm going to keep throwing that ball at you, and you can do it, and well done, you've done it. And of course that's the teacher who creates that context, that ability to finally one day hit the ball out the park and then want to do it again. And the other is to have socially relatable role models where you can see yourself in someone else. And sadly, South Africa doesn't really have that yet, certainly not in the education sector. And so the more we can start developing, that's why I love these civil society organizations that are finding absolute gems and are really putting the winds behind their sails, because those young people become the socially relatable role models for other young people who look at them and say, if they can do it, I can also do it. And so tasting success, having a cheerleader, seeing yourself in someone else, all builds that sense of agency that then says, I have the ability to do something even if you don't have it. It's the belief you can, even if you can't. And it doesn't matter if you can't. If you believe you can, somehow you will. And then you'll begin to realize that social capital, for example, is enormously important. Like, who do I know? I could go and ask so-and-so, and it doesn't matter if I ask and it's the wrong question, at least I'm asking. Right now, our young people don't even ask the questions. They don't even know to ask the questions. They don't even know that there's a problem to ask a question about. And so there's just this negative downward spiral instead of a positive upward spiral. And so I think the more we can create little incubation situations in every class, in every grade, in every subject, in every school, that learners are starting to taste those those little tastes of success, build their agency so they leave school saying, I'm a powerful person who believes in myself and I can do anything, is really what we want. And I believe it is possible. That sounds like pop psychology, but it's not. If you iterate that over and over again in little nuggets of learning, in little small projects, right from play-based learning from grade R to 3, and the project-based learning we're doing in E-cubed from grade 4 to grade 12, if you're doing that over and over and over again and tasting the success of successful solution-seeking problems that are driven by a compelling goal, learners will leave school after 12 years having so much practice at doing that they'll just hit the ground running when they leave school to either be employable, to go and find jobs and people are wanting them because what is needed in the work environment is being produced in the school environment, or they are so keen on learning that they will go and learn some more and just continue their learning journey, which hopefully they'll do anyway regardless of what they do, or become entrepreneurs where they are so solution seeking that they'll be like, I'm going to start my own business and I'm going to make a success of it. And that's really where the E-cubed 3 E's come from, this desire to stay engaged in your education, the first E, be employable, the second E, and or start your own business as an entrepreneur, so the third E. So that's really what makes me enormously excited about this E-cubed program embedded in a system of education in the DBE.
And just in case, so I'm going to ask this question to kind of bounce back from, so I don't want it to be too much like the negative downward spiral. What makes South Africa such a a good example of a country that can take this goal and put it into action? What makes us special in a way? Like why is South Africa well placed?
I think South Africa's done the work. It's part of needing to really be honest about where we are as a country. And we've been through a very tough history, but we haven't hidden that history under the carpet. To some extent we could have done more, but I think with the advent in '94 of democracy, the incredible role model of Nelson Mandela, but also the spirit that is so obvious in South Africans who are so easily able to be activated into fun and creativity and enthusiasm. It's not hard to see, just even in examples of sporting events, for example. And so I think we have it inherent in our DNA that we are that sort of a nation, and you hear that from other nations talking about South Africans too. We have an amazing work ethic. We're a very multicultural country. We face our differences head on. We deal with them. We fail, we get up, we try again. And I think those are all things that are inherent in a kind of entrepreneurial mindset. So I think as a country, we have it inherently. We just need to celebrate it and make it happen and taste those successes over and over again and see them more in our relatable role models to say, we can do this as a nation. We really can be. Take our role in the world of nations, in the countries of the world. So yeah, I think we can do it.
One more question.
Yep.
What message would you give to South Africa about the contribution that E-cubed is making and will make to the future of the country?
Well, without wanting to sound too presidential, I would say to Mamina, which is take me, use me, come along on this journey, because it's not just the responsibility of a single department within a government. It's the responsibility of every single South African to make sure that every single child is given the best chance of success. And so I think whatever we're doing in our lives, in our jobs, in the world around us, we have to be looking for opportunities to support the child. And whether that is that you work in a business and you see opportunities to help schools, whether it is you work in a civil society organization that has some contribution in the education space, whether you have some kind of resource, whether you've got time, where you can mentor a teacher, or whether you can come and work in a school to do something, to create little eco-centers that could create ripples across the country and eventually overlap. There are hundreds and hundreds and thousands of schools around the country. If every one of those becomes a well-resourced eco-center of enthusiasm and entrepreneurial mindset and skill and support around the teacher who is in every class, by the communities that are around the schools, we could just be such a world-class country. So I would really exhort every citizen to take on this single goal of placing the child in the absolute focus of our attention to make sure that they have every chance to go out and be successful once they leave school.
Amazing. Is there anything else you'd like to add? A question I have also been asking is, why do you personally feel close to this goal?
My personal journey has always been in education and in entrepreneurial development, both skills side and mindset side. And so I just think it's incredibly exciting to be able to be part of the institutionalization of something that has been my personal dream for so long. I was a teacher. I ran a number of civil society organizations, all in the space of education and skills and entrepreneurial development. And so to be able to finally, at this stage of my career, being involved in an initiative that is it's a nationwide initiative which is supported by the most senior levels of political and bureaucratical, is very, very exciting. And so I feel probably for the first time that we're all paddling in the same direction, and it's wonderful to be one of the people paddling towards that goal.
Amazing, I love that.